Hi Gareth, I thought I would go over some things on the spreadsheet that I'm sending you. I think it's ready to use for the next year. You'll notice that it looks pretty much the same as it always did. There are some differences, but the looks are pretty much the same. You'll notice the charts are pretty much the same. Shouldn't seem to be a whole lot of differences in the charts. This one's organized a little differently, but it's still basically the same basic idea. And so these have the 2018 through 2020. What is new and different are these blue data rectangles. Light blue are things that can be changed. They're just data. They're accessed by the rest of the program. So this 2020 is actually data, this 20,000 is data. But the rest of this stuff is calculated mostly and really shouldn't be changed. The data is backed up. So the data for 2020, 2019, 2018, it's backed up. And you can copy these and paste them in if you want to, and I'll show you that in just a second. It's not a big deal. So anyway, things are pretty much ready to go. There is one small detail, and that is as you update the data in the current year, before you switch out data blocks and change things around, you might want to make sure that that current year is up to date in the data backup. So for instance, our current year is done. We have week 52, but in the data backup, the current year is not finished. We don't have week 52, and we certainly won't have week 53. And so it's a good idea to make sure the current year is up to date before you start messing around switching blocks. But let's take a look at how we might do that. So I did update the current year here, and so I copy all the blue rectangle. That's just it. Just copy the blue rectangle, including the reserved part. And so we copy it, and we come over here, and we paste it. And so now you'll see that this data it includes all 52 weeks. So you want to keep the data backup kind of pristine. In fact, you want to keep it organized the way it is. Otherwise, other bad things happen. But it is pretty simple to use. So now what are we going to do to switch this over and make it be for the next year? Well, it's actually not too bad because we're going to want to move all these blocks down one. So let's take 2019, and we could copy it from the data backup as well, but I'm just going to copy it from here. It doesn't really matter where I copy it from. So Control C, and well, that is silly. I copied two of them somehow. So this time I will try to be, yeah, there it is. I got carried away with my copying. So Control C, Control V, and that one's copied. And let's go up here, and let's do a Control C. Let's do a Control V. That one's copied. And now let's go to the data backup where I have a blank copy of 2021. And let's put the 2021 one right here. And so now we've got this blank copy of 2021. The next data block is the stuff from 2020, and the next data block is the stuff from 2019. And you will notice that this chart has completely changed automatically. We got 2019, 2020, 2021. I have the current budget set at 20,000. That can be adjusted extremely easily. I'll show you that in a second. But all the dates are correct, all the labels are correct, all the formulas are correct, even which months have which, 5 Sundays or 4 Sundays. The whole thing is correct for whatever years are put in. So everything changes. Over here, these are correct. I haven't looked at why that's, I don't know why that, let's just ignore the error for a second. But we haven't filled anything in, so it's trying to do an average estimate of something that's not filled in 2021, but that's okay. So none of these things are filled in, and they will be filled in shortly. So there you go. Let me just try something. I didn't intend to do this, but I want to just try putting in some numbers here. We'll say that it's $26,000, and we will say that there's 50 people in every single kind of service, except the last one for some reason was 100. And then let's just go see what's happened. So we still don't have numbers here, but our error formulas are gone. The average individual giving here. So I might play with that and get rid of the divided by zeros thing, but I can play with that later. So the point is, it's ready to go. That's the main point that somehow I talked right through. And down here, I changed the way the attendance breakdown is for the chart. This makes it easier to make the chart be correct. These I thought were kind of interesting. The sum to date, the average to date, you got to have something for these to work right. But look at these as you fill stuff in the first few weeks and think about them and maybe have other ideas. Some of this stuff won't make much sense. I don't think we need that. So don't pay much attention to it. Data backup, pay attention to that. That's useful when you want to start analyzing changes from previous years. And if this data is in its position, then it makes it easy to do other things. The notes you don't really have to pay attention to. I put some of your notes in here from the previous spreadsheet, but this was mostly where I played around with some stuff, and that's all there is to that. There is one thing I'd like to talk about, and that is I'd like to be able to pull some quantities from the final year budget from previous years so that I could eventually take these data blocks and include, accurate budgets versus this 20,000 default thing that I've been using. But also specifically the total budget for each year. It can be the total or the monthly, it doesn't matter, but the total budget, the total salaries and wages, the total giving that the church does outside of the church, whether you call that missions or, the food pantry or whatever, but the total kind of giving the church does outside of the church, I think would be kind of important. And the full-time equivalent staff members. So that's all the full-time plus, if you have 2 20-hour a week folks, then that would be one more full-time. I'd like to get that data. If you have it, that's great. If not, could I look at the final spreadsheet of each year for the past years, kind of like you sent me the final version of this spreadsheet, and I'll go through and I'll put that data up here so that when we compare these years, we can compare just about every statistic that could possibly be important. So I'd really like to do that. I think that's about it. I think this thing will be ready to go. The version I send you will look a lot like this.